Hi everyone, it's Lara. Today's video will be about making your first stitch. Before you do your first stitch, it is important for you to make a loop at the beginning of your yarn. You have to let at least enough yarn before making your loop, so you will be able to hold that piece of yarn with your thumb and your index. It is also very important to remember that the diameter or the size of your loop has to be approximately the same diameter as your crochet that you will be using, because the crochet has to be able to go inside the loop and slide inside of the loop very easily. So I will leave this much, about this much yarn, okay, and I will make my loop right here. There you go. So I will now test it and see if my crochet can pass and slide very easily. Perfect. Now you will have to position your fingers, the yarn on your fingers, like we did during the first class. The shortest yarn, the one that does not come from the ball of yarn, you have to hold it with your thumb and your index, just like that. Then you pass the yarn on top of your index. The third finger holds it against your index, and the two last fingers hold the yarn just like we saw during the first class. You can now take your crochet and put it inside the loop. And the crochet, you have to hold it just like we learned in the first class. Now you will notice that every time I go get the yarn on my index with my crochet, that my third finger will slightly go up to help me get my crochet under the yarn, and that my two fingers here will slightly let go of the yarn so that I can pull it in. So let's try to do our first stitch. So my third finger slightly goes up. I go get the yarn with my hook. I pull it in the loop. And there you go. You just did your first stitch. Now you hide it with your thumb and your index. Let's try to make a second one. So you slightly bring it up. You take the yarn with the hook. And there you go. You just did your second stitch. And you hide it with your thumb and your index. Let's try a third one. Slightly lift it. You pull it in the loop. And this is your third stitch. So we've done 3 stitches. You have to make sure to stop and see if your stitches are almost the same size, because you don't want them to be too loose or too tight. If they're too tight, you will not be able to do the next row. So you always check to see if they're almost the same size. So there you go. Now you know how to make a stitch. You have to remember that it is important for you to stay relaxed when you hold your crochet and when you hold your yarn. To practice for the third class, I will ask you to do at least 20 stitches and check if they're almost all the same. You can practice as many times as you want until I post the next video. So this is the end of the second class, and the next class will be about how to make the second row. So I will all I can tell you is until next time.